This week we went to go see Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves in IMAX. That's right, in IMAX, but is it any good? We'll talk. Hi, how you doing today? It's just Jess here. Hope you're having a good day. And today, so we got the movie Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Is this movie worth it to go in IMAX? Honestly, maybe, probably yes, question mark. I could not find it was filmed for IMAX, although that explains a lot in terms of the technology they used to make the film, unlike other movies that you've seen on this channel that are definitely filmed for IMAX. But if you do love the tabletop games, just know that this is a fun, epic fantasy adventure. It's probably not needed for most humans, but to be very honest with you, it is nice, honestly, to watch this in an amazing premium screen, or even Dolby for that matter. IMAX or Dolby was still a nice time, a good time at the theaters to watch this movie. Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves is an epic fantasy action adventure comedy magical medieval movie. I've never played the tabletop games that this movie is based on. I knew that people were even cosplaying when I went to the theaters in IMAX to watch this movie. However, watching this movie after I came out to screening in IMAX, I am so interested in delving into the world of the tabletop game, cosplaying, learning about the books, any media that I could find, just because I was open to the in terms of the media of watching this movie. Watching this movie, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to find out more about these classes, these druids. I wanted to find out more information about this, so I was so intrigued after watching the movie that it made me a lover of this tabletop game, this everything else. But we'll just see if I like the game as I like the movie. But if you're like me and this is the first time you get introduced into the Dungeons and Dragons, it kind of feels like World of Warcraft and Skyrim had a baby, or maybe they're in a marriage. You have some thieves, you have paladins, you have mages, you have sorcerers, and even druids that change into other things. So all those classes are absolutely in World of Warcraft, or even Skyrim for that matter, if you ever played any of those video games. So to me, it's like more of a fantasy island and like deserted places with like abandoned camps and like castles, kings, witches, and queens, and like druids. And I absolutely like that because I did play those games, even though like 10 hours each. I never poured in more hours than that, but it's like a basic of those things, even though this movie definitely better than World of Warcraft. You know how that kind of disaster was when that movie came out. We travel vast landscapes, medieval landscapes with amazing sceneries as we traverse this fantasy epic adventure straight out of Skyrim. After a heist gone wrong, a band of misfits and strangers must combine together with different strengths, abilities, personalities to retrieve a lost relic, along with saving the bard's daughter that might fall into the wrong of hands of the evil. And one thing that pointed me out when I saw this movie and the posters was the cast is diverse but miraculously works well together, even though they are bizarrely different people and playing different creatures with different attributes that help the team out in order to fulfill this quest or this conquest to become a dungeon master. And by the way, dungeon master is a term they use, I think, in the tabletop games. I heard the other people who were talking about it as soon as we left the cinemas. The cast is absolutely a nice standout addition because everyone's different, but it works well like a band of random strangers, and even using what they know to use this for core dynamics to make from complete strangers an overall almost family dynamic towards the end of the film. So you see how they progress from absolute strangers, except for like two people that kind of know each other. Well, in the group they kind of know each other because they worked on previous heists, but at the same time they get closer as the movie progresses. And to me, I really like that because I saw the cast and we're gonna talk about it right now. But it is bizarre because you would never think these people would be working together, and it actually works seamlessly well and they gel really well nice together. Chris Pine, aka he feels like the everyday man's guy, plays the bard. He's like the devilish thief and the leader, and he also makes the plans. And this is the daughter that the whole team is actually trying to save. Michelle Rodriguez plays as Holga, a beautiful brute that has power and strength like a sexy tank. So she's like one of those like muscle type tank characters, but even though Michelle Rodriguez, I'm like, that is so cool because we see Chris Pine in some scenes like trying to get away, and then Michelle Rodriguez is in like the foreground of the action, which she's like taking out all the baddies, and it was funny. Justice Smith plays as Simon, a sorcerer who lacks the confidence and has low magic skills, but towards the end of it, he actually gains his confidence as well as helping the team with new magical abilities to traverse this epic fantasy land adventure. Sophia Lillis is gorgeous, by the way. She also played in It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2. She was that girl. She plays as the druid who can shapeshift into different animals. Reggie Jean is a paladin, a legendary swordsman who is definitely handsome and is very good with his blade. Helps out the protagonist in a little bit of the movie. I wish we did see him more, but what we got from him was amazing. He's like one of those side characters in terms of like a video game, but that gets added into your main cast. If you've ever played like Final Fantasy, he's like one of those those. I wish we had more screen time of him, even though he is in it, it's not as much as the rest of the cast member. However, I did find a lot of the movie to be funny comedic moments, sequences that take the whole cast of group as they traverse the mythic lands to help them in the aid of the rescue of the daughter. They have to get some item, they have to go to the dead lands, they're going to like the wastelands, they're going to the bizarre landscapes like the greenery, then they go into like what feels like hellish, devilish lava environment. So it kind of plays like a video game since they traverse from different locations, getting articles and items and even information to aid them in the final galactic boss battle at towards the end of the movie, where all of their abilities are come into play to try to defeat this red, evil, mysterious sorceress wizard that is actually kind of sexy, by the way. There is probably a lot of callouts to the tabletop game, hence how we've never played the tabletop game, but watching this movie, like I told you before, in IMAX, I am excited for my journey to become a dungeon master or a dragon conqueror. Don't know the terms, but I did hear some of the people that I was walking out playing for this movie, hearing what they were talking about, and I did have a nice time with it. Hopefully it sets up for a sequel. I mean, it actually kind of does, but it's also an intriguing to see a story made up from strangers, from being close together in terms of the overall narrative structure, being close to as a family towards the end. One last thing is just that the world building they did, it would be a waste if they didn't continue it as in a sequel. Like, I do want to traverse these mythic lands and probably even revisit them or even extend some of the sequences and even find out what I don't know. Maybe is there bigger bosses? What about the magic? Is there different sorceries? What about the evil stuff? What about the evil emperors? Like, are they gonna go like away? What about something else? Because the movie does tease a bigger, better version of an enemy that the team could face now that their skills are probably to the next level. If you love video games like Skyrim and World of Warcraft, or if you love the tabletop game, you'll like this as well. But if you're like me and you have an open mind and you don't mind like all those medieval casterine witches and queens and stuff, then you'll absolutely like this. I'm gonna give this a B+. I saw it in IMAX, so your results may vary, but it was a nice, good time at the theater. If you made it this far, I appreciate you so much. Maybe consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications so you never miss a video. With that, take care, bye.